Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. I love it. Thank you all for coming out. This was the biggest Saturday we ever had. I'm a little confused about the numbers. They may have been a little bit high earlier, but still, we're darn near close after today. I'd say we have more people that showed up in the last 4 days than we've had in any other facelift. So tomorrow it's going to be more than any we've ever had. So thank you all for coming out. Got really good programming tonight. In fact, they've been good all week. How many of you seen other shows this week, earlier this week? What'd you think? Yeah. I just want to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank Tioga Sequoia Brewing Company and Iron Horse who are providing the alcoholic beverages. How many of you have had our new facelift beer through Tioga Sequoia Beer called Yosemite Facelift? Awesome. I'd like to thank our serving staff in the bar back there. Give them a big hand, please. It's a lot of work. Who would have thought 20 years ago if you told me that we would have people from law enforcement up here helping us serve beer? Well, it's happening. Unbelievable, huh? So don't overdo it or we'll take care of you. But I'd also like to thank the people in our AV booth. That would be Ed Whittle, who's the master AV person for all these shows. Ed Whittle, give him a big hand, please. His assistant is Shannon Browery, and give Shannon a big hand. New this year, we're doing live streaming, courtesy of Jim Painter, who's in the back booth as well. This is a new thing for us. Give him a big hand, please. How many of you have checked out our live streams on the YouTube channel? It's actually really good. And you can, you like it? Oh, Eric's excited. Okay, well, Eric, you can get on out of here. You got a place to watch it over there, and you can give up a seat. There's a lot of people outside. I got to give him a hard time. No, I didn't mean that. I really didn't mean that. Let's see, who else do I need to thank? I'd like to thank my family. They're up here, and they put up with me all year long. So I don't know why, though. I also like to thank Dakota Snyder, who takes photos for us, and he's going to work. Dakota will be working with all of us 2 o'clock tonight. After tonight's show, we got to take everything down. We're putting up lighting and everything for dance tomorrow. Tomorrow there'll be food for 400 people, free food for anybody that participated. And then we've got 2 different bands. We got War Girls going to play, and then after that the Humidors. And we're going to dance till about midnight. Cool. Should be fun. And got one more person I'd like to thank, and that's Allison Gonzalez, who works every bit as hard as I do. So give Allison a big hand, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple people I would like to thank, a couple more ladies. Steph Brontman has been working on rolling out a new website, so that'll be coming out soon. Thank you, Stephanie. Michelle Look has helped during this event and previously with some of our photography needs, so thank you, Michelle. Also, our artists this year, Rhiannon Klee, Santiago Palacio, and also Cassie Van Allen, who contributed some cool designs for some stickers. Go by the Yosemite Climbing Association tomorrow. Sign up for our mailing list. We send out newsletters quarterly. Finally, who's the sponsor of the day today? North Face. Yes, that's right. Thank you. So we had the North Face out on Mount Watkins cleaning up fixed ropes. We're really appreciative for their support, as well as our other top sponsors, Black Diamond, Patagonia, Subaru, and Cliff. Enjoy this evening. I'm so glad you all are here. Saturday night. It's Saturday night.
Thank you, Allison Gonzalez and Ken Yeager. Hi, how are you? How are you? Hello, children. Hello, adults. How is your 16th annual facelift going? Amazing, amazing. Absolutely the most epic party in a national park that's ever existed. Thank you, Yosemite Climbing Association, for existing. Okay, to your feet, people. To your feet. It's time for our journey. 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 And I had, thank you, child. Okay. Who has a spare sock? Okay. This is what happened to me today. Okay. So imagine, okay, you get in the car. Okay, you're driving the car. You're driving. You drive down. You pull into manure pile buttress. You get out. You put on your pack. You walk up. 9 of your friends. You get to the base after 6. Tie in. Tie in. Okay, now start climbing. Everyone's samba climbing behind you, too. All right, start climbing. Start. Okay, you're in the chimney now. Chimney, 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 chimney. Okay, lay back. Lay back. Lay it back. Lay it back. Okay, you're at the summit. Now check this out. You get to the summit. There's 10 of you, but there's 20 other people, and they're there for celebrating this instant engagement, and there's a huge dance party. So this dance music breaks out, and then we all start dancing. All right, this is where you dance. Shake it now. Come on, people. Shake it. Come on. Happy anniversary. You're descending. Now you're descending. You're hustling back down to the parking lot because you got to get back to run the raffle like I did. Then you get to the Merced. Now take off your clothes. Take off your clothes. No one's really taking off their clothes. Okay, now get ready. The water is so cold. Get ready for shrinkage and dive in. Yes. Okay, wow, you're so freezing. Now get back in the car and then start driving here, and then you realize you're on that other drive over there, and it's epic traffic forever, right? And you're never going to make there. But then you see Jennifer Poe on her bicycle, and you jump out of the car. And now get on Jennifer Poe's bicycle and start biking. Come on, you got to bike. It's like far. It's like 2 miles. You can't believe it. Your thighs are killing you. But you got to get there to run the raffle. You finally get there, you high five. High five Jennifer Poe. Say, on 3, thank you, Jennifer Poe. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Jennifer Poe. Okay, then you get to the raffle. My God, sit down. Okay. It's been an epic day. 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 Who has a trash story? Anybody got a trash story? Something they found? Something? Yeah, trash story in the back. What do you got? A picnic bench in the river? How was the picnic, dude? Soggy sandwiches? That's odd. Okay, we're going to keep moving. Okay, you haven't, yeah, was your hand up? Yeah, what did you find? You found a crashed vehicle on 120? Did you, help the people? Were they bleeding? My God, it's amazing. You put the medical waste out there, increase the numbers. Okay, moving on. Wait, for real, kids? Jack, do you have something? Okay, she is. What do you got? You found a cone, like a traffic cone and a garbage can? Those were actually supposed to be there. Those weren't trash. Dude, you should know better. Dad's a ranger. Kevin, where's Kevin Killian? Anyway, it's cool. Boo! Busted. Okay, our first speaker, let's get to it. Hey, by the way, there's been 3 speakers a night, every night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What's tonight? Saturday. So just like 15 different acts. Tonight we get the real rock. Okay, so our speaker tonight, let's get to it. Utah native, identifies as an ice climber, out there mountaineering. Going to talk about the power, the purpose, and poise, sports model, love and life. Her first time on the stage here in Yosemite. Give a big face lift. Welcome to Camille Fiducia. Give it up for Camille. Yeah, Camille. Nice, Camille. Slay it, Camille.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, let me turn this guy on. See what the hell I'm going to say here. Oh, wow, it's really dark. Okay, cool. So, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for being here. It's pretty awesome to see all these amazing faces in the crowd, which I can't see anymore, but I know you're there, and I'm super grateful that you are there. Yes, thanks. Yes. Timmy was asking me what my irrational fear is earlier, and I was like, actually, I'm 99% sure it's public speaking. I'm like, it's fine. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do. So first, I want to start with the reasons why I do what I do. So These are some of the girls I work with. This is Albertine. Albertine is 17 years old. She's a refugee from Chad. She's one in 11 children, I believe. Yeah, 11. Raised under a single income of just her mom. Albertine spends, I think she's been in the States for 6 or 7 years and spends most of her free time watching her younger siblings. Her first hike was this March. It was her first time ever hiking outside after living in Salt Lake for the better part of 7 years, and I'll never forget her first hike. She had the worst shoes on ever and horrible blisters, and we couldn't afford to get her shoes by that point, and she was just crushing and had the biggest smile on her face. And since then, she's been climbing, as you can see. She's been camping, and she's learned so much, and just to watch this girl come out of her shell has been super special. This is Shagufa. Shagufa is an Afghan girl. She grew up in Kabul. She's a child of war. And she comes from a pretty educated family. And even from an educated family, she faces barriers. So Shagufa really wanted a bike. This story always stuck with me. It was one of the first things she told me. She asked her dad, "Can I please get a bike? Can I please get a bike?" And she saved up. I don't know how long it took her to save up. Saved up money to buy this bike, and she bought her first bike, and she rode it the first day, and she came home, and her brother was pretty violent with her because it brought shame to him that his sister would ride a bike. So after basically getting beat up, her dad took her bike and gave it to her brother, and her brother rides a bike now, and that is kind of her situation as an Afghan woman, or a young Afghan girl. But she is also an incredible mountaineer and becoming so strong, and leads the fitness programs, which have been designed by Steve House, and is just an incredible leader. So she's another reason why I do what I do. This is Taiba. She is an Iraqi refugee. She remembers ISIS's occupation of Mosul well, but she's an incredible leader, and now she's living in the States under an asylum case and helps inspire our girls to try harder and push harder rock climbing, and has just become an amazing leader in what we do. This is Hanifa, standing at the top of Mount Noshak, which is Afghanistan's highest peak. She is the first Afghan woman to have ever climbed it. And this is Vibs next to her. So I don't know if any of you know Vibs, but she's an incredible guide. Done a lot in Nepal. But Hanifa's past is akin to what you would expect from a woman of Afghanistan, again, born during the war. And this mountain for her is more than what climbing a mountain means to us. It's more or less having a second chance at life and at freedom, and at proving that she's capable of some of the most incredible perseverance and very strong. So, and that is Wamda. She's my last one I'll talk about tonight. But Wamda is another incredible girl. She's from Sudan, and Wamda's story is awesome. Her papers got messed up, so she got shipped through Egypt. Her papers got messed up, and her age was documented as 2 years older than she actually was. And when she arrived in the United States, she couldn't go to high school. So she was 16 years old. Her papers said she was 18. And her refugee resource officer said, you should just work in hotels. And she was like, if I wanted to work in hotels, I would have stayed in Sudan. I made it all the way to the United States. I'm getting an education. And so Wamda figured out a way to go to adult high school, and she has finished high school, and I just wrote her college recommendation letter for a scholarship for her. So I'm super excited. And she's also in this program and also learning to rock climb on top of relearning the language, graduating high school, and being in a program that encourages young refugee women to get outside. So these are my reasons why I do what I do now, which is very different than what I was doing 2 years ago. And I think I'm on this. And for all of us, our reasons are always going to be different for why we do what we do. So how I arrived at this was all of this stuff. I like to climb, And I, spent several years just like loving life. I was moved from, I moved back to Zion when I was like 22 to climb, and eventually got a 9-to-5 job, and it was all to kind of pay for my third camper van to be built out and be free to climb. And that's kind of like, a lot of times it's like the goal. You're like, I gotta like have this freedom. I can climb like 5 days a week. It's gonna be super sick. And like, yes. And so that was the goal for some time. And I still love climbing a ton. That's how I know a lot of you friends in here. So I was doing this and working my job, and at the same time, I started to model. And pretty soon, modeling turned into like a full-time thing. And then I was like, oh, I gotta quit the job, and I can just model. And then I was like, sweet, I can work like not that much and like climb a ton. And then I was like, the modeling thing kind of like turned into a full-on thing. And then I'm like, pretty soon, I'm like, okay, I can like actually go climbing when I want to. And that was sweet. I had like 6 or 8 really fun months of like being able to make my own schedule, and it was awesome. I could go on climbing trips, and I could pay for it with the modeling. And then it ended in a quarter-life crisis in Indian Creek, where I showed up crying. And I was like, I kind of just had this moment in Indian Creek where I was like, I am not totally sure what I'm doing. Like, I really love that I can afford to climb, and I love that I can afford this lifestyle, and I'm also just not totally sure what I'm going to hang my hat on. Like, when it's all said and done, I guess I just sort of started asking myself the question of like, what's going to be that thing? Because for me, it's not really climbing hard. Like, I'm stoked to climb, and I love to climb to get outside, but it wasn't like, for me, it just wasn't going to be that I like climbed 513 or really accomplished that much in climbing. Was not going to ultimately be deep down what would be the thing that I hung my hat on at the end of my life, and was like, this was my footprint in the world. So during that time, I had started searching for volunteer opportunities, and I was like, maybe I can go to work in refugee camps. Maybe I can bring humanitarian aid to, some of those camp situations. And I also started looking locally, and I was like, maybe I can work with, homeless youth, et cetera. And I was kind of striking out on all levels because while a freelance career is freeing in some ways, it's also limiting in others. Like, I'm not consistent. I can't be there every week to teach a kid to read at a homeless resource center or at a foster kid resource center. I have to travel all the time. And then to work internationally, a lot of the times you need to be there for longer. So you need to have like a 6-month window. So I was kind of like still with a flexible schedule, striking out on a lot of these opportunities. But eventually, my searches led me to a place I love very much, which is Afghanistan. So I found in my searches kind of this strange marriage of things like I was looking at big city mountaineers, and maybe I can work on like some mountain mentorship programs. And I was also looking at conflict zones, and I found this, which is kind of a combination of both. So Ascend is an organization based in Afghanistan that teaches young women mountaineering skills. Yeah, and it is really fun. So let's see. The program, it teaches young women, I mean, honestly, mountaineering, I think for any of us, is like a metaphor for life and what we're capable of. I think that it's, maybe a lot of us don't realize that with climbing, that like, and maybe we do, maybe that's why we do it, is like, shit, I climbed that thing, you know? Like, I can totally do this. I can totally take on this huge project, or I can, you know, I climbed Moonlight Buttress. I can definitely move out of my house this weekend and like do it in a day and be fine, you know? Like, I can totally write this paper like I just did. Like, why do I have like the drive to do a bunch of research on that route in the Tetons? But like, I definitely am capable of like writing this paper, you know? So like, I feel like mountain skills can be a metaphor for what we're really capable of doing. And that's what this program is for these girls. So again, like the situation for women in Afghanistan is very real. It's still very dangerous for them to do things like this. And at the same time, it's also very important for them to do things like this because they're disproving this cultural expectation that they've been living with their entire lives, which is that they're not capable of anything. They need to rely on their husbands, they need to rely on their fathers, and that they're property, essentially. Okay. So, what we do... What happened? Oh, this might be the video. Is this the video? I don't know. Hit it again. Oh, cool. Okay. Here's the video.
I was born for nothing less. My mouth should be sealed. What should I do with that trapped wing which does not let me fly? I've been silent too long, but I never forget the melody. Since every moment I whisper the songs from my heart. Remembering myself of the day I will break this cage, fly from this solitude and sing. I'm not a weak poplar tree to be shaken by any wind. I'm an Afghan woman.
Cool. Yeah, so that's just a quick little window. That was Fresh Star program leader. And Hanifa, who summited Mount Noshak on a very intense expedition to the Badakhshan province, which, fun fact, before that expedition, I was there for all of July and often on the phone with Chris, who is in here somewhere. He's like calling me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, there's gunshots like in the street. I have to lay down. I'm sorry. And I'm like, did you hear that? Like, he's like, Jesus Christ, you what? Like, you're doing what? I'm like, sorry, Chris, that's just where we're at. And he'd be like calling me at like midnight because it's like, you know, noon my time, and just kind of like trying to coordinate that was so funny. And he'd be like, what do you do today? And I'm like, oh, just like, you know, took cover, or like, you know, it's like kind of funny. But yeah, this right before this expedition, it took us like 4 days even to get a flight there, because it was either ISIS or Taliban attacks on the base where they were flying to. So no one was flying to Badakhshan, and like Marina's like, we're flying there, just like run a plane. And they're like, yeah, but like we're being bombed, like we can't. And she's like, do it. And eventually they just did it, because yeah, Marina's the founder of this program is incredibly tied in to national security, and she's amazing. But yeah, that's kind of the risk that these young women take, is like they're not only just climbing. Like, I mean, a lot of us in here probably do know that social dangers along with climbing dangers thing, you know, because of some places that maybe some of us have traveled. But it's like you're always kind of in that mode of being like, you know, like when you're in the mountains and you're like always heads up, like you're always keen to see like rockfall, avalanche, like you've always kind of like watching yourself, ice fall. And then in this case, they had that extra level of like, who's looking at me? Am I safe to be here? Landmines are like a big thing. So yeah, ISIS, like an ISIS encampment will make 200 bombs a day to secure their area, just because they want to be noted if you trip one that they need to pack up camp and get out. And that particular province where that mountain is does have a lot of that. But I'm making it sound really scary, and it's actually not that bad. I'm like, don't get that scared. It's like, you're climbers. Like, you love this kind of stuff. You're like, climbers are great with like high-risk environments, you know? It's like conflict assessment. Your risk is still, well, I'm not going to compare it to things in sports because I feel like everyone's sensitive about how risky their sport is and they want to say that it's like not as risky as like other things, right? Because we all have things that we're like, well, base jumping's not that bad and like ice climbing's not that bad, but like statistically, it's still safer to go to Afghanistan than it is to do some of the shit we do. So, just saying. If you ask the numbers, I called my mom the first time I tried to go, she called me and she was like, are you kidding me? I was like, Mom, if I told you that I was going to strap myself to my buddy and do a tandem base jump, you'd be like, sweet, have fun. So I'm like, I'm going. Like, you need to be better at your risk assessment. I'm like, and maybe I do too. I don't know. Okay, so. Yeah, and then like this is what we do, and it's super fun. So taking girls rock climbing to certain provinces, and we do indoor skills and outdoor skills. When we travel, we do have guards with us to ensure our safety because there are some locals who don't think it's that great what we're doing with young women, and they're not that progressive, and they do potentially pose a threat, so we do travel with armed guards from the local provinces. The provinces are safe enough for us to go to. But it's so worth it, and I tell people at the end of the day, like, people are like, oh, I've got kind of another risky trip coming up that's in the same realm, and they're like, why do you do that? And my thoughts are that there's still conflict can happen, and the children are still going to school, the mothers still love their children, the fathers still want the best for their daughters, whether they get it or not. There's still people, there's still giggling girls that are 16 years old. At the end of the day, I am still just like herding a bunch of 16-year-old girls around. Like, it's like, okay, they're up all night in their tents, like, they're screaming because of bugs, like, it's still super fun. And so, yes, there's like a lot of other things going on with it, but it's still just like my little sisters. And also the rock is pretty cool. Like, there's really fun, granted, and there's a bunch of cool formations, and we've climbed a bunch that may never be repeated. I put up some first ascents that go proudly at 5'8". Like, maybe I tried to make sure the other like friend I was there with didn't climb it after me and tell me anything else. I was like, climb something else. Go put your own thing up. This is another thing we have to watch out for. Who can see what that is? That's a bomb. Yeah, so we were just about to climb this thing behind it, or just at least check it out and see what it looked like for like some single pitch cragging stuff, and that's super important. I wouldn't suggest it being a place that you just go. I think there's a rise of people and media around Afghanistan that presents it as a place that's like up and coming and adventurous, and I still say go with an NGO, go with a team that gives you a security brief and a security protocol to adhere to, and training on things like this, because just walking around in the wilderness there, these are everywhere. There's unexploded ordnance, and it's really impossible to clear any of Afghanistan of landmines right now. That said, it's a beautiful place, but it's just very important to be keenly aware of these things and know how to respond to them. Like, don't go near them, just like walk away, like we just went somewhere else. It was like, turn around. And I guess I kind of went into this, but I'm probably going to skip it. It's just kind of like living outside of the wire there and being, when you're in Kabul City, the measures that you have to take are they're both enjoyable and they're serious at the same time. And I'm going to keep that one short because, yeah, it's like you want to just be really responsible about your movements there. And mostly what I do with that program is now I go back like 2 times a year for about a month each time. and work with the young women, teaching them fitness programs, and we do these trips like what you saw. And mostly right now implementing, Steve House has actually been a super awesome resource for me. He's like another one that's on the phone. I'm like, how do you adapt this? Like, think about this. Can I get like a mountaineering training program? And then kind of adapting his base fitness to what these girls can do. It's another interesting thing in the field that I work in is I just had one of my girls stateside had an injury bouldering, and it's something you don't think about when, as children growing up in the United States, we had sports. We had like gymnastics or basketball or soccer, and our parents put us in things, and like the girls even were tomboys, and they'd like fall down, and we built up this muscle that young women in countries like this don't have. Like, they never ran around as children, or like young women, and they lack certain physical stability to keep them from breaking bones, essentially. Like a jump down from bouldering could mean a broken leg or a broken back because they don't have strong muscles to protect their bones. So you really have to be thinking about like all these interesting things as you're adapting fitness programs to populations who have never had that in their lives. But it's super fun, and I love it. I love those girls. So now, when I got home from Afghanistan the second time, so many people were just like on my Instagram asking me how they could do something like this, but they didn't have a freelance job and they couldn't just go to Afghanistan. They can't like leave their jobs for a month, they would lose their jobs. And a lot of those people were in Salt Lake City. And I just started thinking there's so many people with valuable skills. Like Salt Lake is stacked with really experienced climbers and really knowledgeable people in outdoor sports. And I was like, how do I allow these people who are asking me how to share their skills, how do I allow them to do that? Like, I know there's a population that would love to have these tools, you know? So that's how we got Embark. I basically cold called. I just like Googled a refugee resource center in Salt Lake City, and it was Women of the World, and it popped up. And there was this awesome girl, Mackenzie, and she turns out like kind of already knew me a little bit and was like, and I just literally cold called her. I was like, hey, I have an idea. What if we made an outdoor recreation program for refugee girls? Like, there are people in Salt Lake who could do it, and like we could get the girls, and like, do you have the girls? Do you think this would even be a thing? And she was like, absolutely. My girls will not participate in high school sports. They can't. They have no way of connecting with their communities. Like, they don't know how to make friends. They don't have any common ground to make friends in their schools. You know, these girls are pulled out of like Rwanda, and they're placed in an American school where the volleyball team girls are like 5'9" blonde girls who are talking about Gossip Girl, and they're just like, I have no clue how to connect, you know? So basically, and then I called actually Nikki, who's in this photo, and I just knew that she worked at the rock climbing gym, and I called her and I was like, hey, how would I get like an underserved youth group to climb at the gym there for free? And she was like, do you know what I do? And it turns out Nikki already has other programs in Salt Lake City that work with foster children, children that have been affected by homelessness. And so she was like, why don't we just partner up and do this thing? And I was like, whoa. Like, when stuff like that kind of just comes together that miraculously, you were just like, okay, I will just do it. So I did. And now we have Embark. And we teach not serious mountaineering skills. We don't do that yet. We are just camping, hiking, orienteering, trip preparation, meal planning, trail finding, trail ethics, kind of all of those things that you would hope for at the most like basic entry level. And really the point of this year has been getting these girls to fall in love with the wilderness so that they learn to respect it. Because I think this first step with introducing anyone to a wilderness environment is letting them fall in love with it and then knowing what's there to protect afterwards, right? So now we have, we've seen like 12 girls through the program so far. And next year we're ready to double, which is super exciting. And a lot of these girls have said to me, like, Wanda, even after this trip, was like, never in my life did I ever think that I would be doing something like this. Like growing up in Sudan and like even coming to the United States, like they see this stuff on Instagram, but they don't know anyone who does things like this. They don't have, they're so disconnected from it. So yeah, that's Embark. And let's see. I'm like really good at giving presentations. I'm like, so what was I gonna say? I'm trying. Guys, I want you to know this is the first time I have ever been on a speech or been on a stage giving a presentation. I've never. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Oh, thanks. I've literally never had to like stand up in a place and present to people before. I didn't even go to church as a kid, you know? Like they get like the little kids to like come up and like bear their testimony and stuff, and like I feel like that's actually a good life preparation, which I missed. So it's fine. We're doing great. We're doing great. Thank you. Woo! Okay. Thanks. All right. So, a couple just like really quick reasons why I've found over the time that I've been doing this program, as I keep investing in it, more and more things kind of pop up that like you just never thought that you would learn when you dive into communities like this. Such as some of the reasons why this particular population would be disconnected from the outdoors. Cultural barriers in an already exclusive environment. So we kind of talked about like high school where you kind of don't have much commonality. Like when I first started this program, my intention was for the girls to be able to go up to someone and be like, hey, I know where this hike is. Like, do you want to come with me? And that's like a tool for someone to make friends, you know? It's just a basic connectivity tool. A couple other things are language barriers. These girls are often under-resourced, so they don't have like parents who can drive them anywhere. I have some girls who take, not in this photo, but like these two take a bus sometimes for like an hour and a half on a Sunday morning just to get to our meeting place to go to the climbing gym. Like if we can't get a volunteer out to their house, they're that committed that they're like, okay, we'll take a bus for an hour in the morning and like take 3 bus routes so that we can meet you so we can go to the climbing gym. So they don't have just like the basic things that you would think like mom can drop you off at soccer practice, you know? Size is a big one for sports. And a lot of girls can't compete or can't participate in high school sports simply because of the dress code. Most of my girls are of the Islamic faith, which requires your head to be covered and your body to be covered mostly completely. And they can't put on a soccer uniform or a basketball uniform or any of those. And I've found that outdoor sports actually is one of those realms where we can dress how we want to, mostly. So like these girls can find these leadership skills and find their strengths in a way that doesn't require them to break the code of their family. So that I think is really powerful. And also just the time and energy. Like we had time to like go climbing, and like while we've been doing that, they've been like learning the English language and like taking care of their families and just like trying to get from like this country to this country. So I think they haven't had really the time to like learn this stuff. So, okay. So I guess I kind of want to bring this back to everybody and just see sort of how, like, my story is different than everyone else's, and all the reasons that we do things are going to be totally different, and our passions are totally different. And I just want to touch on a couple things that I think sometimes people are like, I mean, we're all here because we want to do good. You're at the Yosemite cleanup. So you're here to clean up, which means you care, and there might be some other boundaries and just things to like brainstorm through as you're thinking about like using your time to help lift others up. First thing I want to talk about is privilege. Sweet. I'm a full-time model. Like, I'm the most privileged person ever. And when I first went to Afghanistan, I was like, how can I possibly connect with these girls? Like, how can I? They'll never have my career. There's not even like a scholastic pathway that allows you to arrive at like somehow working with sports brands, shooting in a studio all day. Like, keeping a six-pack. Like, there's just no books that teach you how to do that. And I was like, how can I connect with these girls, you know? Or are they going to look at me and be like, oh, she has everything, and they see Instagram and they see all of our adventures, and I felt really guilty for that for a while. And that is just like so not it. Like, these people in these communities are going to love you, and they're looking at you like they know that their path is their path, but to go there, to connect with them, to invest in them, to teach them what you have to teach them, and to offer these valuable gifts trumps all. And I think there's, secondly, we're kind of the demographic having free time. Like, I know there's kind of like, oh, white girl saves the world, or there's, oh, single white male, like the best position to be in, who grew up in America. And I think that these rumors are totally need to be dispelled, because what that actually means is that you are in the best position, and our demographic is in the best position right now to be the people who reach into these communities. Like, I still work, 40 to 60 hours a week, but I can at least make my own schedule a little bit, clear out times to work on this other program and invest in that and float it when I need to float it. And that, I think, is true for most of us. Like, I think that the people who are in under-resourced communities aren't going to be the ones who can take the time to help themselves up and out. I think it's our demographic who's in a really good spot to do that, realistically. And let's see. And like another point that I just wanted to say is human lives that are genuinely improved hold more truth than any of that commentary. So if there's ever, I have a couple friends who I've actually never come up against anything like that. Like, everyone in my life is super cool, and no one ever says anything like that to me. Like, not even on my Instagram, people are like super nice. And I hear about like trolls, I'm like, I don't have trolls. Like, people are nice. However, it's still a thing, and it's not a real thing. So just like, use your privilege. It's awesome. Your weekend hobby is a shareable tool. So maybe you play violin, or maybe you are a flutist, or maybe you love to read, or maybe you love to climb hard. Maybe. There are so many different things, and I just don't want to totally silo in and focus on climbing, because I think that every climber has like also something else that they're like wicked good at, and you're just like, oh, you're like really good at that. Maybe it's like the thing that you do while you're climbing, like playing your guitar, or and all of those things are, maybe it's medicine. All of those things are shareable tools, and there's totally a way that you can repurpose that to help an underserved community. So it's just kind of like brainstorming, like, what are those things? For me, I'm super blessed because I can use something that I already love, which was climbing, and then used it to discover that I actually love sharing climbing probably more than climbing. Like, it's way more fulfilling for me to go on a camping trip with those girls at this point and like belay them on a 5-6 than to climb some wicked, awesome big wall that, like, it's just kind of where my heart's at right now. So you might learn new things about yourself. Identifying populations in need. So those are going to vary by our community. I've noticed, like, a lot of times in ski towns, you have children of migrant workers. There's every community sets itself up differently to a different population that might need or could use some help. I say that I just had this conversation earlier, but I think that domestically, there's kind of two thoughts here, which is that internationally, I do feel like the baseline effort is beneficial if it can be driven towards having basic needs on a global level. So food, clean water, a lot of like what Mike Lebecki's doing, bringing like basic internet access to schools. I think that is super important to bring us all up together when you're considering the future of like a global economy. I think that internationally you're focused on basic needs, like education again, food, clean water, disease control. And domestically, I think that it's closing the gap. So domestically, you're looking at populations that are super separated, but we're all here together, right? So everyone has these basic needs usually covered, like mostly have clean water, basic health care, basic access to education. While those can always be improved, I think that working on closing that gap here in the United States is sort of the initiative that's kind of on us to take. So yeah, here's like just a couple ideas of like what you might run into and what different communities that might be underserved would look like in different locations, border towns, cities and border towns. Yes, I put sex workers up there because it's a taboo thing, but like I also know people in, medical professions who work with those people, and they go to Planned Parenthood and they find them. And it's kind of just like, think about what calls to you, And so then you're like, okay, I see you. I see these, children of migrant workers. It's like you're thinking about the kids of the people who work in the kitchen at the restaurant, and maybe their parents don't speak English because they just got here, and the little kids like don't have any mentorship, and you can see them, but how do you find them? Like, where do they hang out? Who would you talk to? And here's a couple ideas. So like school counselors, they've been a huge help to me in my programming. Like the school counselor at East High School in Salt Lake, they have like a ton of refugees. Shelters, homeless shelters, refugee resource centers, Planned Parenthood even, they have access. So you're kind of looking at like, where are the pinpoints already where I might be able to connect the dots? And then also utilizing those places to maybe go through them. So like maybe you're like, hey, give them a phone call and you're like, I want to teach guitar lessons. And you're like at this, you're calling a shelter or maybe a kind of like a halfway home for rehabilitating homeless families, and you're like, well, maybe I can just like teach a skill there. That's also totally an option, and it doesn't just have to be like you going fully rogue like I did and like starting this whole thing that now like takes over your life. But I'm super grateful, but it can be like super easy. It doesn't have to be hard. Distance is definitely a thing, and it's also not really a thing. So I say that because like it's only a thing until you see it and you go there and you see what they're doing. So like go on a trip with Big City Mountaineers, go on a trip with Mike Lebecki, see what he's doing. And after that, like once you see it and once you connect with it, this is like in what I've found, it's there forever. Then it becomes like anything else in the modern world, which is like totally remotely workable. There's so much help that nonprofits and NGOs need that can totally be done remotely. Like some of my biggest help has been people who have helped with things from anywhere. We can work remotely. All of my meetings are held on Zoom. I do everything remote work-wise. The only thing that needs to be done there is like the actual hands-on work with the girls, but that's kind of what makes it. You're like, oh, this nonprofit or this NGO is there, and like, how can I do it if they're there? I live here. Like, actually, you can. You can like go and maybe see what they're doing, connect with it, make that your why, just like those girls were my why that I showed you before. And then when you work remotely with them, it's like you always know why you're doing it, and it's close to your heart. And this is like a really hectic list that was smacked together at the last minute that looks gross, but it's like a bunch of other nonprofits that are doing cool things kind of in our industry at the outdoors. And I think this is my last slide. Oh, yes, finally, I made this up. It is, I tell this to like my volunteers who are like, I've never done this before, I'm not qualified. I'm like, doing stuff is still 100% times or 100 times better than not doing anything at all. Like, if you don't know how to do it, just like do it, because I don't know how to do most of the stuff I do. I just like go. And it works, because I'm still like, I just asked myself that question. I was like, if I don't do this, who else? I have no idea how to do this. Like, of course I don't know how to like start a outdoor recreation program for refugee girls. Like, who? And then I was like, but nobody else is doing it. So I was just like, that's kind of just a metaphor for life in general, is just do it. Because it's 100 times better than not doing it. You're going to do a great job. That's right. And, okay. Thank you. Really right. Okay. Well,
All right, give it up to Camille Fiducia. Camille Fiducia, yes. Awesome. Okay. So I'm sure there are some questions out there, but I have a question. You know, rock climbing, I just saw one of these the other day. Climbers have this penchant for taking chalk, and when there's something dangerous that they want other people to stay away from, they'll take chalk and make an X on it.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing that with the bombs?
The bombs.
Don't
Nice.
do it. No, but don't do it if you
it.
thought of it, because
Don't
maybe
put
a
an
climber
X
would think that. No, don't put
on
the
it.
X
Yeah,
on the bomb. Don't put the X on the bomb. Are there any
Doesn't
real
move.
questions for Camille Fiducia out there? Yes, in the back. And real quick, an S and an H. 1, 2, 3. Shh. Thank you so much. Question to the back, sir. What is the elevation of the highest peak in Afghanistan?
7,428 meters.
7,428 meters. That's really
I
tall.
made the last two numbers up.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Like your last quote, 100%. You got it. It's better than
Cool.
not making
Yeah.
it up at all.
I tried.
Last two numbers.
Cool.
That's like pretty good percentage points right there. Any other questions for Camille Fiducia? Yeah, in the back, please. And I'm going to repeat the questions. I got it. And I'm going to repeat the questions so that people watching at home can get them. How does the media cover what you're doing with the Afghan women and climbing and mountaineering? How do they cover it in the press in Afghanistan?
They don't. It's considered pretty unsafe to be in the media there. They try to avoid media. Definitely avoiding using last names. Hanifa is like totally spiraled out of like trying to protect her identity at this point is kind of impossible because she like climbed the first, like she was the first Afghan woman to climb the highest peak in Afghanistan. However, there's still, as much as we can, try to be somewhat low-key about what we do in the country of Afghanistan. That's best, definitely.
And you know, I do a lot of work with an organization called Paradox Sports and a bunch of other organizations that deal with veterans, in particular, coming back from the effects of war. And they find that climbing creates that teamwork, creates that risk assessment, and creates that sort of energy, sort of that anxiety around the fall and that heightened sense of awareness. Do you find that mountaineering brings sort of a sense of known discomfort in a way that creates more of a familiarity with mountaineering? Like, does mountaineering make them feel at home in a way as well? Because it does require these kind of skills that have been honed as they deal with war.
I think they might be a little more accustomed to high-risk environments, possibly. You mean in the girls themselves?
Yeah, like when things are breaking down and it's chaos and there's rockfall, they're like, oh, this is no big deal. This is like every day. We got this.
Yeah, I think, frankly, usually what we're doing with them is like more focused on they're not getting scared out of their minds. Like they're on top rope most of the time. Hanifa's a different situation where Hanifa has been through a lot and she is emotionally strong in ways that I will never ever have to know in my life. And I think that with No Shock with her, it was more about proving that she could, less so than like dealing with the chaos of those kinds of things. It's more about just being like, I've been through what I've been through and I can handle this.
And I'm ready for the next challenge. Another question here for Camille Fiducia in the back.
I didn't even touch them.
And the question is,
I'm not.
and we're going to repeat the question real quick.
I'm sorry.
And the question is when you find these landmines or bombs, et cetera, at the crag, are you involved with removing them, making the crag safer?
Short answer, no. And I've been in fights at length trying to get very stubborn guards to also not. They're like, it's exploded. I'm like, it's unexploded. They're like, it's exploded. I'm like, no, don't go mess with it. Because actually, if you walk around an unexploded ordnance, you can, just moving a rock, like say it's right there, if I step here and there's a vibration or any shift in the rock around it, that can explode it. So you want to just like totally back off in that case, unless you're trained to detonate it.
You have a pet. You have a pet hedgehog, Frida Quilla. right? And does the hedgehog, the hedgehogs are pretty small. Does the hedgehog get to travel with you?
She actually almost came here, but I was worried about sleeping in a tent with freezing temperatures.
Just inside the sleeping bag. Get down in, the
she-
hedgehog burrows down in.
She flies with me. She cooks with me in my fanny pack. She comes everywhere with me. She stays at hotels when I model with me. She's like often in like the down comforter at the Westin. Like.
I mean, you were
peeking
talking
out
about a
at the
wicked,
thing.
awesome big wall. Anybody here want to go with Camille Fiducia and the hedgehog up a wicked, awesome big wall? Anybody? There it is. Dude's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. The monkeys. Okay, final question for Camille. Do you have a question? Okay, Jack. Killian, what's your question? Okay, this is a question on aesthetics and style with your show. Very good, Jack. Very discerning eye. His question was, were the notes that you put up in your show cut out from newspaper clippings? Which a footnote, his father is an officer of the law. They're looking for ransom notes and stuff like that.
Awesome. When did I put the notes?
Then like your little,
these
like they
notes,
look
were
like
newspaper
clippings. Like you'll never get them back unless you give me, yeah.
Yeah, I actually had my hedgehog do that because she's actually really good with her hands.
Dude,
and
the
her
hedgehog
teeth.
cuts the newspaper
She can
parts
do like
out,
the
right?
tiny things that like I can't, and then she like. Put
Isn't
it
that
up
awesome?
there.
Get a
Yeah.
hedgehog, dude, and it will do
They're
your
awesome.
homework. Okay, give it up for Camille Fiducia. Camille Fiducia. Thank you so much. Okay, real quick. We have, for anybody who's hungry right now, the daycare center just outside, chicken burritos for $8. Go get one, go get two, put them in your pockets for later. We'll be back in. Hello. We're getting started here. Hi, Heather. How are you, friend? Okay, folks, let's go and have a seat. Come and have a seat. Plaid, you look impeccable tonight. Well done, dude. Traveling troubadour. Looking for your band, right? Okay, real quick, you know the game. S and H on 3. 1, 2, 3. For those of you still talking quietly in the back, please talk it down, bring it down. Yeah, Josh. Okay, so climbing stewards, you guys know about this program? So we've had Jesse McGahee up on the stage here. Jesse McGahee, this started with Lincoln Else, a ranger. This way? We're going to go this way into the light. Thank you, Ed. Lincoln Else was the first climbing ranger. Basically, this was a bridge between the monkeys and the rangers, right? So we could build more dialogue, build more understanding, build more amity, build more friendship. This program is very proud. It continues today. It's being replicated in parks around the country and even in parks around the world. And we don't only have climbing rangers, but we have climbing stewards. The climbing stewards have been responsible for taking fixed ropes off of Mount Watkins, cleaning the sides of the cables off of Half Dome. And then we have Hayden Wyatt here, who's going to be our designated driver tonight. Yes. So, Hayden, what kind of music are you going to have in the Sarvan?
Heavy metal, Jim's favorite, but I'm actually not a steward, just clarification.
Okay, you look way more than a steward, actually. Seriously. What are you then?
I'm a person who likes beer and likes people that like drinking beer even more, so my people, meet me at the van.
Okay, meet Hayden Wyatt at the van. Thank you, Hayden Wyatt. Okay, Hayden Wyatt will be driving the van. So the designated driving van is another service, basically. If you've been drinking, don't drive, of course. BUI, don't ride your bicycle. Find the van out in front of Visitors Center. So the history of Yosemite, it's been written for decades, for centuries. We had a very beautiful prayer. Did anybody catch the prayer at the raffle today? Native people's prayer, basically. But the history of the golden era of climbing, the 50s, the 60s, going forward. I was coming through Oakdale last fall, and I happened to catch Tom Frost Memorial. And Tom Frost, of course, capturing those amazing images of the boys up on the big walls in the early years of those golden era. And Tom, I'll never forget, Dean Potter and I were doing the triple, where we did Mount Watkins, Half Dome, and the nose in a day. And we're getting up to the base of the nose, and coming up below us is Tom Frost. And he comes soloing up. We're just about to get started. He goes, "Hold on, boys." And we chalk up. We get all psyched. We high-five with Tom, and then we take off. And he's like, "You guys are amazing." And that history continues to be written. As we saw, records are going faster. Walls are being freed. The monkeys are raging more than ever. So please give a warm welcome to one of our own search and rescue monkeys, Jim Reynolds.
everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'll be honest, yeah, it's just after 9 p.m., so it's actually past my bedtime. But we're going to try to keep it together for you all here. So, yeah, thanks for coming out. I mean, a lot of times I'm sitting down there with the rest of you. I mean, I was just sitting down there with the rest of you. But, yeah, it's really special. You know, I've watched a lot of events go down here, you know, like Tom Frost and Royal Robbins stand on this stage, you know, and talk about their ascents. And, you know, they're not with us anymore. But it's been really amazing to just, I don't know, now I'm here, and now I get to talk to all you. So, yeah. Yeah, so thanks for coming out, you know, for sure. Like the people, I mean, this is my community. This is like the people who live here and spend all the time here, and this is also the people, you know, who are coming out from the Bay or San Diego or from other states, other countries. So just, yeah, this is a big deal. Yeah, Facelift is a big deal. Don't forget it. Yeah, so I also, just for that sake, want to thank the Facelift staff, you know, Ken, of course, for bringing this all together, and yeah, so. And Allison, and you know, everybody else who's been a part of the crew. You know, I don't know everybody, but and then of course Timmy. Like Timmy's a legend. Like that guy's still with us here today, and like bringing all this psych and power. And he's done some crazy things. This guy's had the no speed record, and the triple. That's like a lot of big mountains. That's like at least 3 probably. So yeah, today I'm just gonna talk. I don't know about a lot of things. It's gonna get real crazy. There's going to be tangents, there's going to be all sorts of things, but, you know, the theme, this slide, it used to have big letters up here that said battling the certainty of doom, because that's our theme, but you don't worry too much about it. I'm just going to tell stories about my life, and we'll worry about the rest later. Yeah, and then at the very end, we're going to get into a discussion about fixed lines and stash gear and ethics. No, just kidding. That's not. So this is where I started out. This is a place called the Trinity Alps Wilderness. It's way up in the. Hey, yeah, I know some of you people have been up there. Clearly. Yeah. So I mean, a great place, an amazing mountain range. It's definitely like. As a kid, you know, I mean, I wasn't the most social or anything like that, so the mountains were good for me, you know. It was a good place for like me to tuck away and do my own thing and kind of find that like challenge through nature, that, you know, that path that helps me to grow and yeah, kind of get away from, I don't know, you grow up, you don't know what's going on out there in the world, you don't know your place, you know, but I had always kind of found at least some solace out there in the nature, so yeah, not to be grim, this is also one of my old best friends. He died this last year from a heroin overdose. So hey, like, you know, climbing in the mountains is dangerous, but like, let's at least die for the reasons that we believe in, you know, instead of stuff like that. But anyways, this is my sister. She's crossing a big stream in the Trinity Alps. Like this is like where climbing came for me, you know. It's like we did backpacking trips. We went into these places. And, you know, adventuring, exploring, doing all the things. And then, you know, at some point in time, and then, you know, kind of the reason I'm bringing this up, this is like people ask me, like, what's the first thing, like, what is your first solo, you know? And like, I didn't even know about rock climbing, and this is Sawtooth Peak up there in the Trinity Alps Wilderness. And, yeah, like, you know, this was it for me, you know? I went up there with those 2 guys that exact trip, you know, and we were up there in Canyon Creek, which is this drainage that's way off to the left side, and you follow the Stone House Gully, which is just this amazing dried riverbed with all these branches arcing over the top, and you're just crawling up this tunnel. It's higher and higher towards the summit, you know. And like I said, I'm just a hiker. I'm going for a hike. I just want to get up there. You know, my mountain skills told me, like, this is the way to go. And this is like a 14, 15-year-old gym, just for reference. And yeah, I'd never seen climbing. I was just doing what I did in the mountains. And at some point on this ridge, you know, it starts to kind of funnel you into a sidewalk, and the exposure starts to get bigger and bigger on either side. And then there's a point where the sidewalk runs into a gendarme, you know, like a big giant pillar. And there's no way up over this thing, and I can't see a way around to the left or to the right, and it's just a sheer drop on either side. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, I guess I have to go back down all this stuff. But then I take one more look, and just on the right side of the pillar, there's this cracked opening, this like Pac-Man shaped mouth that goes like through the pillar essentially. And I was like, oh, I think maybe if I lay down and I belly crawl, and I just remember that moment, being laid down, getting in there, and it's such a small little opening that half of your body is on the ledge and the other half is just hanging over the side of the cliff, like a 70 feet drop to the ground, and just like the slow little shuffle, And I got to the other side and was like, yeah, I did it, like, whoa, and then we climbed the rest of the ridge, and then we went down some other way that was less scary. Yeah, I just tell that story. I don't know. For me, it's just like this is where soloing comes from. Like, it was never for me like this thing like, how can I impress my friends? We had a great speech by Josie McKee the other night. Hopefully, some of you all were here. And her speech though left me with like one question, like, what is the right reasons for this stuff that we're doing in the mountains? And for me, it's those nature-based reasons. If you're soloing for people, like, people are the reason that you shouldn't go soloing. Like, these are the people who want you to come back home at the end of the day and see them happy. Anyways, moving on. This is my buddy Dave. Yeah, that's Tall Dave. He's very tall, so we call him Tall Dave. He lives in the Bay Area, and we met in San Luis Obispo, the central coast of California, and started climbing together. We just kind of actually ran in at my job, and it's not important. Anyways, this is Bishop's Peak. Yeah, if any of you have been to San Luis. When I started rock climbing, honestly, I came out to this place and just couldn't find any partners. So the first thing I did was like start top rope soloing at a little crag here, and quickly found partners. But when I first came to this place, I saw this wall, this huge, giant, intimidating wall, and I thought to myself, if only I could climb P wall, I'll have made it. It's 2 pitches, The first one, there's a couple ways, and the second one, it's all 5-6, no matter how you go. So eventually we climbed. We climbed P wall. I sent. And yeah, so like this friendship, this partnership had been formed, and we went all over, California. The stuff that was within our range. This is out in the Needles. Yeah, this is actually like the first climbing trip I went on. Dang, I got so many like stories I want to tell you guys about how like sitting in a Tommy Bahama chair in the back of Paul's van is, we're like riding the broken van, coasting out of the mountains, with no transmission. But we're gonna move on. Yeah, so just that thing, right? All of us start off someplace, and we take those little steps, and we learn, and we start to feel comfortable in our place, and yeah, it's great. I mean, like, we love all those places that are, not Yosemite, that kind of like get us to here. Like, maybe you don't want to go back and climb the loose, chossy stuff, but we got to take what we can to go bit by bit until let's go back. But then at a certain point, you're like, cool, we did all the things. We climbed, the eye like 1,000 times, and you can only do so many like 100-foot, pitches or 40-foot pitches in Joshua Tree before you you want something bigger. I mean, if that's all you want to do, Joshua Tree's awesome. Like, yeah. You guys seen this place? Do you know where this is? This is probably taken from like on top of the roof of this very building. So we came, then Dave and I came to Yosemite with big plans. At that time, we kind of felt like we were the climbers on scene around Bishop's Peak, around San Luis Obispo, and we were ready for the valley. And so, of course, I came out, I was like, well, first thing I'm going to do is climb El Cap, and turns out there's a 10B route that goes up the side, so that's, I wasn't yet privy to, like, they don't count it, I guess. But, like, still, we have our mission. I'm fired up, like, let's go, And we came to the valley, and yeah, we didn't even get the chance to like get on the East Buttress. Like 10B here, that stuff's hard, despite what Alex said in the film, Like, yeah, it's hard and scary. So like, we didn't even get close to the East Buttress. We were like bailing off Royal Arches and like Sacker Cracker. I don't know if any of you have climbed that route. I definitely like cried on Sacker Cracker my first time up there, just like dejected, hanging from the end of the rope, like I'll never be a Yosemite rock climber. But we took our time. We did things bit by bit. We went like, all the little cragging areas. I spent my time at Swan Slab, and these are skills you can learn elsewhere. But it's cool to kind of like work through that progression here. This is. Any of you been on this pitch? Does anyone know what pitch this is? Shout it out. What is it? The Enduro Corner. Yeah. It would have been obvious if this was Werner Braun up here. Maybe that would have been obvious to more people. But that's me. That's a good question, man. I don't know. This was a big deal for me. This climb, obviously, the Astro, man. I didn't think I was ready to climb it, but my partner, who was in his early 60s, was like, "I'm only getting older, So if you want to go, let's go now." I think this is that first time I ever got an Astro, man. This is, not to spray too much. This is the first 11C pitch I ever on-sided, and then the rest of the route, and we're like, yeah, we did it, yay, whatever. But then after a certain point, we've climbed the column, we've climbed the tower, and it's time for the you guys know what that is. So we set our goal, and we went out to it. We did it just like most people, walled it out. This is like up at the wild stance at the top. I'm feeling a little fatigued and wondering if I still want to be there and alive and stuff. I don't know, like, existence hurts, We'll go to that one in a second. Right, so yeah, Yosemite, like we're psyched, we're doing our own thing, but like for me, I mean this whole climbing thing that we're doing, it's crazy, like it's never about just us in this moment, There's all these people who came before us, and there's all these people who will come after us, and yeah, this is, you guys know who this is? Do people who have started climbing in like the last year or two know who this is? This is Dean Potter. Like he's like the legend. He showed a lot of us monkeys the way. He was just someone who, I don't really know a lot about Dean. I didn't meet him. He was always like an idol, an icon. Someone who inspired me. But he always took things to say whatever it is that you can imagine, your dream that's in your head, go for that dream is at least that's the message I got from Dean, and back in those early days, we had it was like a joke, but it was our saying, our kind of mantra. Dave and I would say, if Dean can do it, we can do it, which is I don't know, probably kind of a bad mantra because it's not true, I'm still falling on 5'10s at this point. And I'm like, if Dean can do it, we can do it. Dean can do it, we. And it's it was just fun. He just got us psyched, It's just really what that practically that came down to the times when we would slam our Jumars into knots and as we're jogging, boom, ooh, Dean did that one time. I guess we can do it too. And these things, I don't know if you ever have this experience where it starts off as a joke, hey, could we do this thing? So after we'd climbed the nose, and we climbed the nose in a day, then the next thought was well, could we do the blink up? Could we do them L cap and half dome in a day together? The only people who do that are legends, all these Hans and the Timmy. He did another one in addition to those two, but. Yeah, we didn't know if this stuff was possible for us, definitely, but, it was the things that we could imagine, yeah, it's so cool, let's go try it, and, let's try to be safe about it. There's Tall Dave. I'm in the background. We're on the regular route of Half Dome, which, this part's still here, but all this stuff that's here, this is actually an accurate photo, I guess, because it's all... And then, yeah, Dave's psyched. This is where Dave's psyched. And we, get to the top of the, we're, climbing. I'm in the lead. And I get to the top of the mountain. And, you're in speed climbing mode. So I, get up, and some guy's like, oh, wow, crazy. Where'd you guys come from? And he's like, how fast? How long did it take you? And I was like, well, what time is it, And he's like, it's noon. It's 12, 12 in the afternoon. My brain's in speed climbing mode. And so it takes me, probably another 30 minutes to do the math. Okay, we started at 8:15, and it's noon. Then oh my gosh, like we just climbed Half Dome like under 4 hours, you know? And, like all we have to do if we want to do the link up is just pretty much like not trip while going down the death slabs, which I would say is easier said than done, but I don't know, that sounds pretty bad too. Don't trip going down the death slabs. And then this is us, at the base of the nose, me looking up, and Dave just being like, why are we here? Who am I following? And I just, from that particular ascent, I remember getting like up into the stove legs, and there's Dave's leading, and I'm Jumarin behind, and at a certain point, he just like hasn't short fixed into the next pitch. He hasn't continued, and I get up there, what's up, Dave? He's like, oh man, I just dynoed for a hand. You got to take over, man. Like, I'm like, well, I shouldn't be dynoing for hand jams on 5'8". And I was like, no, you shouldn't be dynoing for hand jams, Dave. That's not, especially when my safety is contingent upon yours. Which, we made it to the top of the mountain. It was great. We did the link up. It was like a dream come true, this moment of like, this thing that only our heroes were able to do, like, wow, now we're doing it. That's awesome. That's great. So then, like, what comes after that? Dave goes back to school, and it's just monkey time. I don't know how many of you like have friends or like go to cool outdoor places, but like you know, at the end of the day, like what it's, I don't know. For us, it's like it's monkey business. You know, that's why these monkey calls. That's why this hooting. You know, it's like, yeah, it's silly. Yeah, you sound like a fool when you monkey call, but it's like we're all fools together. I guess is sort of the thing. You know, and I don't know. I think before talking about generations and stuff, it's like yeah, we're standing on the shoulders of the generation who came before us, you know, and the generation who comes after us will stand on the our shoulders, and that's cool, you know. But also, like, don't forget, like, you know, like your fellow man can stand on your shoulders right now. And this is actually, Alex is about to lead this pitch. She's leading the pitch. This is my buddy Joel, and this is me down here. We're just, you know, making, you know, team ascent. This is yeah. You know, and like we want to have fun out there. Like we're just, I mean, it's crazy, right? This world of climbing that we live in, where it's like, yeah, like what's the gnarliest, biggest, like craziest thing, and like, yeah, that stuff does like matter sometimes. But like, what's cooler than this? Like, I tell you what, I probably had more fun on this day than when I free soloed Fitzroy. You know, like that's we'll get to that later. You know, like there's sunshine. I got homies. Like we're going up to the pools to go swimming where we probably shouldn't. Look, there's more monkeys. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever had this effect, but you just jogging up to Heartlines, and you're like, dang, there's like already a party hauling, there's like a party fix, there's like someone rapping down, and then you get up to Heart Ledges, and you're like, oh, these are all my friends. You know, and like, don't we all want climbing to be that way, where like instead of looking up at the mountain and seeing just like, wow, there's so many crowds on the nose, like those are nice people up there who are psyched to be there, and when you like maybe catch up to them or pass them. Like they're probably going to be like super nice and really psyched, and like they're having a good time, you're having a good time. Like I don't know why it's got to be this whole like, oh, Yosemite's so crowded. It's like, yeah, but it's crowded with cool people that we respect and we like to be around. There's Dave. There's me. There's other monkeys. These people are confused. There's monkeys in other parts of the world, too. This is in Spain, in Sierrana. Yeah, it's Spanish monkeys. I don't think any of these monkeys are Spanish, but they're monkeys in Spain. That's Big Sandy up on Half Dome. So we get to this ledge. This is my first big wall ever, Half Dome. We're a party of 3. And we get to the ledge, and Big Sandy, there's this ledge, and then there's a couple more ledges below it here, or not below it, but closer to the wall, essentially. And I get up there, and being the nice guy that I am, I tell one of my partners, I was like, you can take the super sick ledge spot, like I'll sleep next to the anchor. And then he just starts like, what? I don't want to sleep next to the edge. Like, I want to like clip me into the anchor, man. And I was like, what? Oh, you don't want to sleep right next to the edge all night long? And yeah, I don't know. This is like a dream. Like I woke up in the morning, first thing I did, like hadn't even put on my glasses, and you just like turn and stare over the edge. The ground's way down there, I think. Yeah. Bark, bark, woof, woof. Yeah, so I spent enough time in this place at a certain point that it's like, after a while, Yosemite was like, cool, man, you've been here for a little while. Like, are you going to, like, do something, like, get a job or something? And, yeah, so at a certain point, it's just like, it made sense, right? I was, like, done with college and, having no direct path in my life. I was spending all this time in Yosemite, which was great, but I was like, it'd be cool if I could keep spending time here. So, I don't know how, I don't want to get too into it, but yeah, I got on the search and rescue team, and they're cool. It's cool. I think you guys mostly know what we do for the search and rescue team. Obviously, this is like the big, sexy LCAP rescue with a bunch of mechanical advantage, and legendary Ken Christ just directing the team, getting all savage. There's Buck Yetter also working really hard. He's working hard. We go on searches. That's the S. And we go on rescues. We carry people off the Misty Trail, and it's cool. A lot of times it's just like, yeah, it's nice to be here and be able to support and help the community when possible. And another quick note on that, I was scared of those rangers when I first came to this park, and now this has been an amazing opportunity to get to work with all different types of people, from the monkeys to the law enforcement rangers, and yeah, huge respect to the law enforcement rangers. I know they're scary, but those guys really they're keeping us safe in a lot of different ways, and they're monkeys just like you. They just it's not all hard work though. Sometimes we just have fun. This is a SAR team from a couple years ago. Good people, goofy, we're having fun. Yeah. Woo! Oh, sorry, I can't scream. Dang, I just really want to scream. Yeah, more search and rescue times. We've entered a wormhole. This is actually a photo from later tonight. It's crazy. But maybe some of you have seen this photo, but search and rescues and all that, it's serious, and it's not like search and rescue is serious. It's what we do. Our lives are serious. Life is dangerous, and as much as this has given me this great opportunity to pursue my dreams and do all these things, yeah, it's also I'm super grateful for the perspective that it, I think that's in some ways the biggest thing that I've gained from search and rescue is the perspective. You go out there and yeah, sometimes it's just pick up the person who tripped and broke their ankle. Other times it's I know what it looks like when someone falls 3,000 feet off the top of El Cap. It's grim, no one wants to see that. And when we go climbing, it's just that's never what we want to do. And yeah, does it break climbing for us? Does it make it suddenly oh geez, I know it's written on literally every single piece of climbing gear that we own, but I didn't know that we could die doing this, And yeah, it's changed me forever. I would like to think in the better. You guys can judge for yourself, but I'm not, going to care that much. Sorry. But yeah, one of the times, this will be a good story. You guys like this one. So yeah, one of the times we responded to, and respect, I know some people probably know these people in these events that I'm talking about. I walked out, we responded to a double fatality off the free blast, and we walked up to the base. We were just going to do trail block. The law enforcement rangers were doing the grim work, of recovering people who've just fallen 1,000 feet, 2 people, 1,000 feet to their death, and these were people that we knew that we were a part of the greater community, and not to mention we had a ton of respect for it. This was collective, over 100 El Cap ascents between these guys, and I think it's sometimes easy oh, these people did this or these people did that, and that's why something bad happened. But then you have these moments where you're like, wow, people just like us doing the exact same things that we're doing, like, like there they are, and when I say there they are, like we try to not expose ourselves too much to all this stuff, minimize exposure, I think are the words. And so I got up there, and there was some folks from the fire department, or the local fire engine, who had already established a trail block with a little line of caution tape. And I asked them what was up, and they said, yeah, the ranger said, like, this is as far as we should go. And we were just before the base of the free rider, or the free blast, South AWOL, whatever you want to call it these days. And they said, yeah, the rangers told us, like, don't go beyond this point. And I look up the hill, and the rangers are like, way up the hill. And I'm like, why did they, like, put this silly little caution tape here? So I told the rest of the folks, I was like, I'm going to go just walk, like, 10 more feet so I can see, like, the route that like probably a lot of you, some of you, probably a lot of you, I want to climb the free rider, big surprise, right? So I just went out to, like, we're kind of killing time waiting for them to do the grim work, and I walk up and I look at the first pitch of the free rider, the South Bay, and I'm like, oh, cool. I, like, think about my beta and what it's going to be like to try to, and I'm like, cool, okay, I'll get back down to the people, and I turn around and, like, there's, like, homie right there, like, he's, like, right there, and I was like, oh, like, that's why the caution tape was there. And out of the two guys, like, I couldn't like recognize who it was because, like, he didn't have a head, sort of a thing. Anyways, right, so, like, search and rescue, like, it's not SAR. I'm not trying to say, like, oh, search and rescue's gnarly. Like, life is gnarly. Like, people die. It's real. It happens. In fact, like, everyone here is going to die. I don't know if anyone's told you that. Jeez. Anyways, so that's the end. Okay. No. Yeah, but, like, right. So that's a certainty. Like, we're definitely gonna die. But, like, are we gonna live? Are we gonna get out there and really live? Or are we gonna, do the things? Yeah, let's live. Let's live. That's the right answer. That wasn't like I don't know. Right, so it's like I always feel like these things that I go into, like climbing the nose with Brad, it's like these things are like, yeah, I know the consequences, but it's like, yeah, it's like I want to make it to late life. Like, I love hanging out with all you people. It's great, like, I'm not trying to, like, put myself, like, I think I want to live maybe more than anybody, but you could argue with me on that. But yeah, like, I'm not doing these things because I got some, like, penchant for, like, disaster, or, like, I just, like, oh, 401k, that sounds stressful, let's run it out. So with Dave, like, we had this perfect partnership, and then he left, he did his thing, and I was always kind of, like, looking for a partner to go up on the nose, and someone who kind of felt like matched. I remember getting these like questions from some of my friends that were like, so Jim, like, well, I was like, if I could just climb it, like, with me and another one of me, like, I'd be curious how fast I'll go. And like, well, how fast do you think you could climb it? It was just you and, like, another you. And I don't know, like, under 10 hours maybe. And they're like, Jim, like, come on, like, stop thinking so high of yourself. So I went through a couple of different partners, and then eventually, like, I found this madman who is awesome. I don't know, like, I know they put him as, like, sort of goofy in some of those films or whatever, but like, Brad is the man. Like, this is someone who he might, like, not always, like, do things right the first time, but he's the kind of person who like, if you tell him, like, hey, Brad, like, don't do that again, like, I didn't appreciate you doing that, like, it made me feel like this. This is someone who, like, puts his friendships, like, actually higher than anything else, even, like, climbing El Cap, which is respect. Like, that's the story I feel like they don't tell, like, oh, look at these crazy climbers. But yeah, we got to support each other, I guess. I don't know. That's it. I took 2 beaks up on the nose, if you guys are wondering. I thought that I could hand place them in the glowering spot and go faster. They do go in up there, but I don't think it makes you any faster. So we started doing laps. One like fall of 2016, and then we got psyched. We did a handful of laps, and then the last lap of the season we had broken the 3-hour mark, and Brad's like, what happens if we come back with, like, a winter's worth of training? So he came back from the winter and was like, I'm ready, and Brad's like, I broke my ankle. Which is cool, because then I spent the rest of the spring climbing the nose with like all of my other friends, you know, and it's like cool to, I don't know, climb the mountain with your friends once again. But then by the fall, it was like it's on, you know, like it was the time, we went for it, and yeah, I mean, you guys just saw the nose film, and I would love to obviously like tell you the full story, every little detail and bit, and what it's like to be in this place. This pitch is actually terrible. This is like one of the hardest pitches. Check out that tape glove. Those don't work when they're like that. I don't know. Oh, hey, I don't know how he keeps getting in this slideshow. Yeah, so if Dean can do it, we can do it, right? You know, that was like the old statement. And there came this moment in the laps that we did up on the nose where like, oh, like we just broke the Huber Brothers records. Like the Huber Brothers, those guys, have you seen those guys? And I'm like, yeah, we broke like Yuji's record, and like Yuji's a samurai from Japan, and so like, oh, like it's like, wow, like it's, and you know, we keep, and like those, like all those people like inspire me, and I'm like really impressed by them. But it was when we finally got to this point where like the next record to break was Dean and Sean's at like 2:35 or something. Those are numbers. Sorry for numbers. And like, yeah, the next thing I know, like we're topping out the mountain, like, and we look at the watch, and we just broke Dean and Sean's record, like our here, you know. It's like if Dean can do it, we can do it, and we just did it. Like we just did what Dean did, but like even like it's not a joke anymore, you know. And dang, like we were riding the high. We were psyched, you know. I mean, this is like one of my favorite pitches in the world, the glowering spot. I really like the nose. These are just some things. Yeah, we'll just leave it on this slide, 'cause that's a nice one. That's at the top. Right, so we got down from our lap, and we were psyched. I said that like 3 times by now. But we were actually psyched. And we got down, and I'm having a rest day because unlike Tommy and Alex, like I can't climb the nose back to back every day. I have to actually rest. Brad would always be like, okay, like I'm gonna go climb some like 513 multi-pitch, and when you're rested enough, we can go back up on the nose. And so in that rest day period, I'm sitting at the SAR side. I think the rest of the SAR team's like at some sort of training, and I watched the SAR band go like screaming by, and then like a bunch of Ranger rigs go screaming by. They're all going to the meadow. I'm like, what's going on? I hop on my mountain bike, and I pedal as fast as I can to the meadow. En route, I get some texts that say like LCAP SAR, like nose, you know, and this is, as a member of the SAR team, you're kind of like, yeah, like LCAP SAR. This is like, we saw the photo of the guys doing the thing, and now we're going to go do this. They're going to fly us in the helicopter. It's going to be awesome, you know? And then you get out to the moment, and everybody's face is just like, no one's smiling, and you just can feel the atmosphere in the room. Like, what's going on? And, you know, I walked up to one of our team members, and now amazing climbing rangers at the time, Alexa Flower, and said, Alexa, what's going on? She's like, did you hear it? It sounds like it's going to be a fatality, you know? And I was like, no, I didn't hear. And I was like, I need more information than that. So I go to our Captain Redbeard, Dave Weintraub. He's like he was in charge of us monkeys at the time. He was our SAR pappy. And so I was like, Dave, what? Like, she just told me it's a fatality. Like, what's happening? And he just looks at me pretty squarely and says, so basically, Quinbred is dead. Like, I'm sure some of you have heard the name, especially if you came to Josie's presentation. But like, I just went from like, yeah, this actually LCAP SAR to like the thing that our friends like, yeah, one of our friends just like died on the mountain, and like now we're gonna go get her off, I guess, or something. And oh yeah, like they, you know. I can't speak much more to that rescue than Josie did. So if you like want to see it, go on the YouTube channel. It's out there. Like they got it all dialed in. But more or less, like they did some amazing like short haul mission. I just remember hearing the radio comms where the helicopter pilot, you know, the person below is calling out rotor distance from the wall, and like 40 feet, you know, 35, 30. And at some point, I remember hearing the pilot say like, it looks like I'm about to strike the wall with my blades, can't really see, so if the person down there, like if you think I can still get closer to the wall, like I will get closer to the wall. And so the person on the end of the line was like, yeah, get closer to the wall. And that's like what it took to like, that kind of like risk, like putting themselves out there for this one, and they got Quinn off the wall, flew to the meadow, got down the meadow, and that was when I found out that she actually wasn't dead, which was like obviously amazing for us all. And then, we carried her to the helicopter, and away she flew. And it's a whole. Obviously, that story goes off in many different directions. But where it's relevant to like my particular story is like we just went from this like high moment of El Cap to doing the thing, and like literally like I don't know, as like to me it seemed like they were trying to like maybe break this female speed record, and like Quinn fell off the boot and like hit the Texas Flake, and literally the day before I had been standing not on the boot, but like you do the king swing, you run out the next 2 pitches, and then you're like at the base of the Linda Hill Traverse with a rope that like does this to the top of the boot flake, and I'm just like, if I fall, like do I hit the Texas Flake from here? And then that's the thought in my head the day before Quinn's accident, And then, of course, like we come away from that and all those questions, like, is this worth it? Like, why are we here doing this? Like, we got a bunch of really cool laps in on the nose. Like, we climbed it in like 2.5 hours. Like, how fast do you need to climb the nose? Like, really, like, especially when you are very aware that those are the consequences. And so Brad was like, whenever you're ready to go on the wall. And I was like, Brad, I need some time to like think about if this is right for me. And and there's a lot of ruminations I could go through, but like the words that I think that resonate and like why I chose eventually to like keep going after the nose is because I realized that the decision to not go up on the nose was something that I was going to do out of fear, and to go back on the nose was to pursue the thing that I had found in life that I loved the most. And so it's like, what are you going to choose in life? Like decisions based off of fear or decisions based off of love, and the things that fill you up and And I just like, there's a lot of things to be scared of in the world, and I just would rather make love-based decisions, And for me, that meant going back on the nose and doing the thing that like fired me up the most, that brought me so much joy that when I got to the top of the mountain and got back down to the edit, like I was fired up. I would get back down and friends would be like, "Are you gonna take a nap?" And I'm like, "No, let's hang out. Let's play music." Like the doing like getting into these mountains and doing these things. Like for me, it's what fills me with such energy and passion and joy that then like that's what gives me like the psych to deal with the rest of the junk in life. Like there's a lot of junk that we sift through. Yeah, too much junk shows at anchors, too much trash all over the park. Not anymore, but that's why we got a facelift. And so it's like, I was like, no, like this is my time, this is my thing. Like I'm gonna do this. And so we went back up there, did several more laps before. I just remember the time where we hit the glowering spot, and Brad was just like, if we just keep the same pace we had last time, like we're on track to break the record. And I was like, I can't climb any faster, and I'm already climbing, like, thanks, But right, like, you can climb super fast. I put this photo up here because this is just like, you can climb really, really fast, but, like, you never need to climb so fast that, like, you can't be nice to the people that are, all, like, sharing the mountain with you. Like, our ascent isn't actually important than anybody else's ascent. I know it seems like maybe it is, but so this is like, I was climbing as fast as I could, and I still had a moment to be like, thanks for being on the mountain with us, Yeah, I like that photo. And then we like broke the speed record, ta-da. I'm psyched again. Brad, I think he's psyched. He was psyched. And then we went back to monkey business, because back to monkey business. Yeah. This is southern Yosemite. It's just like a little past Wawona on the, yeah. I didn't know if I ever, like, if there was anything bigger than Yosemite for me, you know? And, like, I don't think there needs to be anything bigger than Yosemite. Like, I tell you what, there's no, like, bigger El Caps in the world than El Cap. Like, El Cap is the biggest one, you know? Like, even though this mountain is actually bigger than El Cap, it's not, like, a bigger version of El Cap, you know? Yeah, so, like, do you need to go somewhere else? Like, I don't know, if like all you want to do is just like boulder and you never want to try to climb and go up on these scary mountains, like power to you, you know. We don't need to go to the greater ranges of the world. Like Yosemite can be this place where it like trains you up for these other things, but also it can just be the end in and of itself. And you know, that's for like each and every one of us to make that decision. But then someone told me, they're like, yeah, like maybe there's bad weather, but there's really sick boulders in town. Like these are like world-class boulders down here. And, so I was like, yeah, I'll go down there if I can like hang out and boulder and like live an enjoyable life and like maybe climb in the mountains when the weather opens up. So I went down there this last winter, yeah. I mean, like you guys don't actually need to know that guy to just be like, look how cool that guy is. Like, like this is like a flip-flop track stand that he could probably hold for like 30 minutes and maybe could do while juggling on a slack line. And then like if you think he's getting close to animals now, like listen to his story about the one time he like hopped on the bell mare and wrangled a whole a herd of horses and brought him back to the cowboys, and they gave him beer for a long time after that, I guess. It's true. It's a real story. Yeah, Coach is the man. He's like my climbing partner, one of my climbing partners down there. And, I didn't actually, we knew each other through a mutual friend, but a really, really good mutual friend, Josh Huckabee. So his coach was just like, well, Josh was like, dude, you got to like try to hook up with Jim going down there for his first season. Like, that's the guy you want to rope in with. And of course, like we started hanging out. Like, this guy's awesome. Like, yeah, we'll totally go into the mountains. So then we went into the mountains. Then we're in the mountains. We actually had to walk to get there. You don't just transport. Coach, this is what Coach wanted to climb. We started calling them the devil horns because we just like this. Yeah. So like we wanted to climb this one on the right, which is Saint-Exupéry via route up here, and then you wanted to traverse across the top, hit this one, and then like wrap down the side, and all cool things. We're going to tag like 2 awesome Patagonia summits in one bid, and so we're on this like approach gully that comes up here to this one, and someone comes running down this gully, which is not the other one that I was talking about. This is Raphael. Now we're a little like zoomed in now, and Exupéry's like over here on the side, and we see this guy like frantically running down. His name's John. His name's definitely John. He is from a country that's called Not America, and he speaks a language called Not English. But so it was a little hard for us to like communicate with John, and but he seemed stressed, right? And Coach recognized him instantly as like, oh, like there's John, like legendary John, and he wants to talk to him and just be like, you talk to one of his heroes, sort of a thing. But John's face is like, he's not psyched, and he's like really frantic. And Coach is like, what's going on, man? He's like, I'm going to get help. Help for what? And he's like, my partner just took a 100-foot fall on the top of Raphael. It was a little hard. Like, what, a 100-foot fall? It's like, he's alive, like did he hit a ledge? Like, is he hanging from the end? It's hard to know what was going on. But the guy's like, I'm going to get help. And we're like, okay, so you need help. And he's like, understanding that we had come from like across the world, and like all of our plans and hopes and dreams like accumulated as one like 4-day window in which the weather's like perfect, and we want to go climb our dream routes. And so when we say like, can we help you? He's sort of like, no, like, I know how much this means for you to like go on and do your thing. And so he's like, no, I'm like, I don't need help. I'm going to go get help. And I'm like, dude, we're like 17 miles deep in the Patagonia, like in Patagonia, you know, like if you need help, like here we are, you know. So John keeps running out of the mountains, and Coach looks at me and just like, we have to go rescue this guy. Like and he's like, right? Like, am I wrong? Like we have to go rescue this guy. No, Coach. Like we're 17 miles in the backcountry. Like I am struggling to survive. Like just to keep myself alive out here. And so the idea that we're going to go up this like 2,500 foot mountain and like get a guy off the top, just me and you. Like this is something that like for Yosar, I don't know. Like there will be like 20 plus people on this rescue, and the helicopter's out there, and like let's go get him now. But it's like me and Coach, and we're gonna like go up this wall, and we're gonna like get this guy, and we're gonna wrap all the way down, and somehow we're gonna get it through the death gully and all the way out. Then the 17 miles of like, you know, you gotta like go through like the churning lands and try not to fall into like the ice holes and get like taken in by the little gnomes that live in there. And then at some point you have to go around like the lake, and you're like, oh, the lake, like how bad could it be to go around the lake? But there's a giant hydra that lives in the lake, and if you're not paying attention, especially in the dark, a giant tentacle will come out and wrap around your leg and pull you in. Like it's real deal out there in Patagonia. Like maybe you don't, you know, it's just cute. Crazy place, scary place, really cool place. Yeah, so yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, like we don't have to go rescue this guy, but I'm a rescue technician and you're a trauma nurse, and so if anybody is gonna save this guy's life, it's gonna be us. So we did the thing. We started climbing this route that we had no plans to climb, and we got up there towards the top, and like eventually, like yeah, this is the scene. This is like you're on scene. It's like I don't know. I've got a carabiner on me. This is a cool trick, you know. If your homie's ever, I don't know, on top of a huge mountain, you can girth hitch carabiners through the sleeping bag, and then like put slings around those and make a janky little spider web to hold your friend to the mountain. He's like he's not in a harness of like 2,000 feet up the mountain right now, and like we heard this guy's taking a 100-foot fall, massive head trauma, and he like peek in the bed, be like, oh, what are you seeing there? And like that, whoa, like that's hi, good morning. I got more things to say, but we don't have to like linger on the gore page unless you guys want to. Yeah, so right, I don't know if any of you are like responders or anything, but the classic like questions that we ask and we start going through to kind of assess where he's at. And you know, the first question is like, hey man, like what's your name? Like, do you know your name? He's just kind of very weakly like, and I'm like, look at Coach, I'm like, he doesn't know his name, man. This guy's messed up. But there had actually been like another group of their friends that had like met us. Now there's 4 of us out there. There's like the 2 friends of John who's hurt on the mountain, me and Coach. And so one of the friends of John goes, no, he knows his name. Like he said his name. He just said his name. I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was just like mumbling incoherently, but I guess he knows his name. It was in a language like in not English, so. So I asked the second question, you know, the second question that we asked, which is like, John, do you know where you are? John just like, you can see his brow kind of furrowed, thinking really hard. He just goes, Cold Mountain. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Like you're close, but like which cold mountain? Like, and he furrows his brows again and just goes, Cold Mountain. It's like, all right, so like he's like, no, time's one, whatever, we'll do the documentation. But like this is at this time it's like the sun's going down. We're exhausted, right? Because we did our thing just to like climb. We just climbed Raphael, yay, hooray! Like, and so it was like we're basically like, all right, we're gonna go to sleep for the night and wake up in the morning and just like hope that this guy's not dead. And if he is dead, we'll probably have like a little ceremony with his 2 his partners that are out there, and then honestly we'll probably like go on and like climb the mountain. Like what else are we gonna? I don't know. Do you just leave at that point? I don't know. That's a different question. So we bivvy for the night. We take care of ourselves, which is like what we need to do, obviously, just to like survive. And then in the morning, it's like, all right, he's still alive. It's game time, you know. So first thing we did is put a sling around his waist, so he's not like, you know, He's not free solo in the bag right now. And yeah, we just like, I don't know, this is crazy. We just like put him on these little, we just like slid him down a couple pitches in these bags until we got to this nice little piece of this nice little ledge. And like the guy who was his friend was like very concerned about like, this is my friend, like I'm gonna package him. And so it was a trip, right? Kind of being like, well, I'm like a rescue technician and I feel like I know what needs to be done, but it's like, it's your homie. So if like you really feel like you need to do the things, like I'm gonna take that step back and like, you know, give respect to the people who are even closer. So we got down, we packaged him a little different, and then we just like started doing this huge technical lower on the, like, I don't know, these mountains are incomprehensible. And then actually two other guys, I think they're guides in Teton, Wade Spinner, Max Temfer, I probably pronounced their names wrong. Really nice guys, they showed up too, and they were just like, oh, like we heard like the Argentine rescue crew is like, you know, they're like, they've been alerted, you know, and we're here, we're trying to communicate with them, like how's the guy? And we're like, he's good, like we just need people to show up at the base, because after we do this whole like wall rescue, we're gonna be exhausted. And so this is some of our team. That's me, and these are his partners, and that's John going down, and Coach helping out, and then eventually like we hit the base, and I'm exhausted, and it's dark, and I'm like, oh man, like I can't do anymore. And that's when like this whole Argentine rescue team like just shows up at the base, and they're like psyched and ready to go, and they like first thing they do is they put him in this thing called a camisa, which we have similar things called litters. I mean, it's the same, they're the same thing. I was like, camisa? What's the camisa? Stop saying camisa at me. And like, oh, that's the camisa. This is crazy. I don't know. This is like maybe a little, oh man, nah, we're not going to tour too much. Anyways, yeah, so through the night, these guys like pushed on like this screw back that I, with all my knowledge or whatever, couldn't figure out how to do. And like by the break of dawn, these guys had gotten all the way back down to base camp, and then a rare occurrence, a helicopter came in, picked the guy up, and flew out, you know. Yeah, so apparently no one had ever been rescued off one of those cliffs in Patagonia, and it's not like because I'm super awesome, like we were able to do it. It's because like we had a weather window that allowed us to do that, and like there's a lot of other people who support, like everybody in the mountains rallied together to see this happen. Meanwhile, on Cerro Torre, on the other side of the valley, is like another rescue that's going on where everybody's putting their passion, their like dreams aside so that they can like save people's lives. You know, pretty cool to see that kind of stuff. Afterwards, you know, I just hit this point where I was kind of like, I hadn't found my flow in Patagonia. I didn't really know if it was like the place for me. I was like, yeah, it's cool down here, but like, I don't know, it's just not my thing. I can't like flow in the mountains the way that I can here in Yosemite. So I just started taking a lot of time for myself. You know, I had to kind of work on filling my cup of joy before I had anything else to give to the people. And so that's exactly what I started doing. Like I would solo this cliff band, and I'd go like put the death metal in, and I'd go running into the mountains and like, you know, ignoring everybody else. And that actually gave me, it was crazy how taking, you know, I mean, we all know this, but taking time for myself is what like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, we talk about like climbing being selfish or things, but it's like if climbing is the thing that fills your cup of joy so full that it overflows into the rest of the world, like, isn't it in some ways like climbing that like did the good for the world? And us, I don't know, like climbing, like, why has it got to be selfish? Like we're doing like, I mean, like, yeah, we want to talk about climbing not being selfish. Like, look at the facelift. Like, this is what happens when we come together, you know, and like put our hearts and minds towards things, you know. Like, this is like, yeah, facelift, you know. Yeah, like, so thanks for everybody like coming out and like being a part of the thing. I'm not ending, but thanks for being a part of the thing, you know. These ones I think I'm gonna rush through a little bit just for time's sake, but yeah. Then I basically did this thing that you're not allowed to do, which is like go solo into the Torre. You know, there's nothing to solo in the Torre Valley. Everything's way too big. It's not like, oh well, if, like we don't want to go do like, you know, El Cap, like we can just go, you know, like manure pile or something. Like it's not like that out there. It's just like you're going big, and so everyone's like, oh, what are you going to the Torre Valley alone for? And it turns out there's really great bouldering in there. So I did a lot of like sick bouldering. Yeah. I put up a V4 out there on the glacier with my shoes for a crash pad. I went out there and I just I just tried to like sit and listen and like be in that place. I didn't know if I was going to climb anything. I had a ton of topos, but like maybe I'll climb something, maybe I won't. I wanted to climb this one. There's a big long route. They say it's like the arches that goes here. It's not like the arches. But like this is what called to me, so I ended up like just free-soloing. I actually didn't start right. Most people go up this gully and then this thing. And I started straight here, like right out of base camp. And I was like, oh, chimneys, I love chimneys. I love chimneys. So we went up this, and then we went up this, and then we went up this, and then we went, and then I got to this little notch here at the top, and I looked up, we're the same spot where we had rescued John from. And I looked up at the top of the mountain, and I could just see these splitter cracks that, like, when you spent enough time in Yosemite, you're like, I can climb that. I can also probably down climb that. So I like left all the rest of my gear and just like went up, tagged the summit, and then like down climbing 5-10 pitches on the top of the world. Madness, and got my stuff, went back down, and camped out. Next day, like huge windstorm, like all my friends are up on this thing just getting hammered by the wind. Like their tent got like stripped from it was hilarious. Yeah, their stuff was like all over. I spent like my rest day just like walking around picking up their shit, being like, they're gonna owe me so big when they come back to camp. And then the next day there was like no wind, and I decided that everybody else left, and I was like, I'm going up this one. The Torrey Valley, it's in there in between this row of teeth and that row of teeth. Inside the Wolf's Mouth there is the Torrey Valley. Yeah.
We're taking a quick break. I just got a little scared. Not really because, it was insecure or anything. Well, it was a little insecure, but mainly just because I was climbing up this stuff, and I really had no idea if I was on the right route. So that's always scary because every move is, sort of, you're like, oh, I gotta down climb this. But then I found this sick stance. I'm just fucking leg jamming, fucking bat hanging. And then, yeah, I kind of thought like, there's this corner, and I was like, ooh, it looks like it pinches down. I don't know if I really want to climb that. But then we come around the corner here, and boom, splitter cracks. We're almost into the chimney system. I think I just did the other crooks.
No, you didn't do the other cracks. The splitter hand crack. Turns out it's a lieback, and yeah, that was like kind of crazy when you're like, sick, splitter crack, it's gonna be perfect hands, and you get there and like what looks, is actually just like 2 offset pieces, and this is after it.
Did I mention that I like chimneys? We're getting there, almost to the top. We just gotta, ooh, look at the spike of fate. What is my fate? We'll see when we pull on it. So, yeah, almost there. The crux pitch is down there. I was a little gripped that I might have been off route, but then somebody decided to bleed all over them. So I just followed the red tick marks. Lo and behold, they led to the chimney system. There's no red tick marks here, but I'm pretty sure I'm on the right route, because of
bleed all over it.
The chimneys, There's Raphael in the sun. There's Point Snow. And then there's Fitzroy.
There's Fitzroy, right?
I think, right? Is that Fitzroy? No, that's just Point Snow. Damn, Point Snow is fucking huge. Who made that mountain so big? And then Dos Glaciares. The rest of the Torrey Valley.
I don't know if you guys saw that
Somewhere
hanging
over there.
track,
Maybe
but we
we
got
can
to
see
watch
that
thing flush.
Torreys.
It's crazy.
All good fun though. Yep. See, this is how we chimney. We put our feet on the one side, we put our back on the other side, and we straight chillin'.
Dang, I wish I had like another hour, because like that stuff in the Torrey Valley, it was like what an experience, People are like, oh, oh, you soloed like two routes in the Torrey Valley, and I was like, oh, I soloed 4 because I went up this one, down this one, up this one, and then down this one. The finger of fate's like right there. I came out, I had like the best trip of my life, I was like, wow, that's great, like now I can like, end my trip, like more than satisfied, things that I never thought would happen, and then we're just gonna, like then, I don't know, then I just like, we're like, well, what about Fitzroy? Like, look how cool that thing is. So for those of you who haven't seen, this is the Aphonacy if it started way the hell down here and goes wee all the way up there. And this is like the look from the base. Yeah, kind of going up here, the Las Placas, and a bunch of just all their crazy stuff. The Aphonacy of the ridge. You're trying to follow the ridge, sort of. If anybody wants to know what this is like, I just wrote an article in The Alpinist, and there's no way I can do it justice, like on stage right now. But yeah, I'll try to wrap this up here, but yeah, there's the Las Placas, like just like grainy, heinous, like flaring cracks, and they don't look that long, but it's just like, I don't know, like 1,000 feet of just like slabs and stuff. Yeah, it's wild, but yeah, I don't know, maybe like the other part that I missed on like telling about this story is like I spent days in the mountains to go do Fitzroy, like yeah, I climbed the route in a day, like up and down, but I found like this beautiful little spot out there and like in the woods, and I spent like a week just out, like kind of connecting in, listening, like trying to feel the nature, feel the mountains, and be like, is this really right for me? And I was just like so inspired. Like, I don't know, some of these things for me, there's just this moment where I'm just like I just want to go do it. Like, let's go do it. I tried twice, and then I bailed the first time, and then the second time I came back, and like, this is the summit. Everybody wants to be on the summit of Fitzroy, yay! But like, it's a cool place, but like, I don't know, it's not, it's cool, but like cold, yeah, what are you gonna do up there? You maybe want to get up there, maybe, but like, you don't want to stay up there, so. So I came down, and it was like super important for me to come down and like return to all you people so that I could be on, like, none of this, like, I was out there and I was just like, dude, Jim, none of this matters if you don't make it back to the people. Like, it's cool, you did free solo up Fitzroy, but like, you got to make it back to the people. And dang, so I came back and enjoyed my friends and my place, and like, now we're on to the other things. We're doing, like climbing on the Leaning Tower, and that's the Salafay head wall, and just, yeah, now we're back here doing things, living life, sport climbing at Chapel Wall. Yeah, that's a good one. You guys should try that one. Hey, there's the apocalypse. And other things, other adventures, other trips, like whatever, whatever our passions are, like whatever gets us psyched, we try to just go out and do them. Like we consider the fear, like we consider like the negative sides, like the drawbacks, the things that could go wrong. But if it's something, one of those things that supremely inspires us, like we're gonna go out there and do it. Yeah, there's the mountain bikes. Those are cool. This is backside of Mount Whitney, trail running. This is Mike Brines. If any of you guys meet this guy, he's flying. He's like, look how high he is above the ground. That he just sustained that levitation for like 70 miles through the backcountry. And this is hopefully not what it'll look like at the star site this evening. Yeah, dang, I don't know. I mean, it's been all over the place. I've talked about a lot of things, but like, what I see, and I hope this doesn't seem too grim for you all, but like we're all die. Our world is like decaying and fading. Did anyone see what's her name, Greta Thunberg's speech? Oh, yeah. Did anyone see that? Oh yeah. Like, respect to all the people who have been speaking here at Facelift, but like, I don't think any of us will top that. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. But like, this stuff's real for me and like our generation. Like, like our world is like threatening to collapse. Like, and even if we can sort of get our way through that, like eventually, like the universe is going to explode. I don't know. Like, this is just like how the way it is. And so, like, it's like our time is limited. Like, like impermanence is guaranteed. And in the time that I have, which is now, I'm going to push for the things that I see in life that are most beautiful, and I'm going to go towards them with my full heart. And that's how I'm going to keep choosing to live my life. So that's it.
All right, give it up for Jim Reynolds. Jim Reynolds. Jim Reynolds. All right, Jim. I'm sure you have some questions for Jim. But Jim, you seem to have an active, some would even say hyperactive imagination. He does like Greek mythology, planetary physics, deep philosophical, ontological considerations of existence. And do you view climbing and exploration as a creative process? And even further, do you view climbing as an art form?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely call climbing an art form. You know, I mean, in some ways, I think art is this like category of things that don't obviously have benefit to our world, that I would say have the most benefit to our world. You know, and so I think that like climbing as an expression of art it doesn't have to be art, it could just be like fun or whatever, but if it's like when you go into your mind and you imagine like the most beautiful, amazing things that you can do, and you go forth to create those things, like how is that not art?
And when you have wilderness and risk as your canvas, I mean, and when you're an artist at the leading edge, you're doing this most incredible and perhaps most dangerous things.
Yeah, you know, definitely like maybe being on the leading edge, the tip of the spear, but it's like we still need the whole rest of the spear to do any like.
And that's where all you come along, to
That's
hold
everybody,
the
like,
spear that
hold
he is
the
the
spear.
tip of. Are you ready for that? We ram it into the world. Jim Reynolds is our spear tip. Question? Yeah, go ahead. Child question. This is great. What were you thinking about Jim? Okay, and that was he mentioned that as the finger of fate, or AKA the death pillar. So the question is when you're in the chimney and you're free soloing and you're nonchalant and you're selfie videoing and you see above the spire, did that fall off?
It did not fall off. I did grab it like this, and then like this, and then I maybe like straddled it, and then
The barrel roll.
I think I kind of tried to avoid it, but yeah, no, it stayed there.
We noticed it too.
We saw
it
some-
was kind of out there, right? Wow, Jim.
We saw some other cool things come falling down though.
And Jim's going to be babysitting you two later, okay? We're going to go climbing together. It's going to be amazing. Question in the back there in the yellow jacket. Okay, the question is who is the best chess player at the SAR site? Current or ever?
Yeah, current or ever. That's the
Current or
question.
ever?
That's
Okay,
the question.
current. Who's current?
Who's current? You know, it probably goes to Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, well done. Well done, Michelle. Good job. And then how about best ever? Best ever?
Best ever, Dave Weintraub.
Dave,
That
DW,
guy.
DW.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
another
so-
question. Another question. In the back, go ahead. And is that John, the individual that they helped down in that particular rescue off of the mountain? Oh, Quinn Brett. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. With
Quinn Brett.
in Yosemite.
And we did have Josie McKee who did a show, but Quinn Brett, real quick.
Yeah, I'm not maybe the best person to speak about Quinn Brett, but yeah,
Well-
she's out there. She's doing a bunch of public speaking. She's
Yeah,
working
I
with
could talk
Jared
about it.
Ock-
Basically,
yeah,
I have a brother who's
yeah,
paralyzed from the waist down, similar injury, T12 right here, and she spoke last year at an event that I put together for her first time public speaking. And what she's doing so well is sharing that vulnerability of being broken and then discerning what her new 100% is. So she's become this incredible voice, an incredible spirit, and she's making it happen, is what she's doing, yeah. Another question for Jim? Anybody else got a question? Yeah, go ahead, Bud. I mean, maybe that was a bad idea. Bud, hold your question. Everyone's like, no, you didn't
We
do
need
that.
this.
Someone
We
put a
need this
silencer
guy.
on him right now.
No, we need this guy.
Okay, we need this.
We need this
Bud
guy.
Miller, you got the floor.
Almost a month. It's August 30th. What is your favorite song on the new Tool album?
Okay, I just was listening to the new Tool album. Favorite song from Maynard and the boys at Tool. What's the favorite song off the new album? It's an amazing album.
Tempest. It's like the
Tempest.
last. Yeah.
What's happening inside his mind right now? A tempest. So, great question, Bud, and you got a great answer. So, Jim, I'm curious about this.
It culminates there. It's the end of the album.
Some
It
of
was
this
really good.
is obvious because you've been talking about this, but love as an indicator, right? Love as a destination. You mentioned this as well, like people are a reason not to free solo, right? That type of thing. So love is why we talk about that, leaving those people behind, etc., the hurt that they may feel. What else beyond climbing and this beautiful tribe do you love?
What else beyond climbing and this beautiful love? I mean, the thing that comes like straight to my head is just nature, like the natural space. You know, like I personally feel like a lot of like the way I see the world is all connections, you know, strange extrapolated like little bits here and there. And so I don't know, nature, it's just like the thing that we're all a part of. We came from it, and it's like, yeah, we love to be in this like it gives us like this like raw upwelling of natural power that comes straight out of the earth and looks like that. Like
Biophilia. Okay, final question for Jim Reynolds. Final question for
yeah.
Jim. Have we got one more question? One more question? Yes, sir. Go ahead. And you're ready to go tomorrow morning, aren't you, dude? Let's do this. Okay, three questions. Harding route on Kness, moratorium, and then the east butt of El Cap as well.
Yeah, so we try to like take cues from those who came before us, and there's an old story about John Backer like going up to on-site solo the moratorium and like thinking he was gonna die, and it's just like one of those ones that I'm like, yeah, like if Backer thought he was gonna die up there, like, you know, maybe I shouldn't go up there. The East Buttress, right? I talked about how I'd never, like we tried, like the East Buttress is my goal. I tried, we got like as many as like 4 pitches up and bailed, and that was like the highest I'd ever gotten. And then finally, like when I actually like finally did the East Buttress, it was like I went back and soloed it. Like it's not an on-site solo, right? Because I did the first couple pitches, but yeah. And then, the Harding route on Kness is the best, like, except for Chiara de Luna, which I showed up there with the chimneys and the Finger of Fate. Like the Harding route's like the best route I've ever done in the mountains, and yes, I soloed it.
Looks like you ticked them all. Give it up for Jim Reynolds right now. Living life boldly. Party at the SAR site. So stoked. Well done, Jim. Love you, brother.
Thanks.
Okay, my name is Timmy O'Neill. We're signing off for the night, and what we're going to do, please, is take those chairs 8 high, center to the sides. See you tomorrow morning at Facelift.